Let me just briefly tell you what is that DST is thinking along Indian science. Of course, when you talk about science, there are so many things, the whole world, so many topics, but we're talking about science in India. And I think we should talk about science in Assam also, that basically we have to apply science for developing an environmentally sustainable and socially equitable global society, which also have local relevance. So you do that sort of a thing, and this doesn't mean that you don't do your whatever you are doing, this perfectly all right. In fact, I have a personal view that all scientists, you do whatever you are doing it, but you use 80% of your time, time, money, and energy for doing whatever you are doing. At least 20% of your time, I think, you should devote to solving some problem of local interest. So I think that's what I personally believe. And of course, I also understand all the compulsions. When I was a professor, I didn't do all these things because there are something. People expect you to publish paper in good journal, high impact factor, this blah blah and all that. If you appear for an interview, they'll ask you how many papers you have published. But then that is there. You have to face these things. But I'm saying that in spite of this, some 10, 15, 20% time, if you spend in solving some problems which are of local importance, so then I think you'll have a more satisfaction of doing something. Okay, so I think that's why this whole idea of DST about this science application is basically this, that you do something for the benefit of the people and correlate science with their daily life and the problems. And actually, if you ask me what kind of thing in recently here, for example, one of the major problem in Assam now is to get a pure drinking water. Okay, now there's another additional thing there. You can say that, okay, wait, there's so many filters are there in nature, in a market you can buy. But in fact, once I talked about this somewhere, and some company came and met me, and he said, "Sir, this you can remove arsenic. This we have to remove fluoride, and each one costs about 30,000 rupees." So, but then how people in a Assamese village can afford 37 rupees just to remove arsenic? Okay, so there the problem is not that, there are two things. One is a product, other is a process. Okay, so you need not come up with a different product, but you change the process so that whatever you get is actually affordable to the people. Okay, so I think this is another thing, that you need not discover a new thing which can solve a problem, but you can discover a new way of producing something which may be cheaper, which our people can afford. And let me give you one example. In the case of medicine, see, there's a disease called thalassemia. Okay, what happens is the hemoglobin breaks down, and all the iron in hemoglobin comes out to the bloodstream, and iron is highly toxic, absolutely toxic. It goes and deposits in the liver, in the kidney, and it give you ulcer, and ultimately it can give you cancer because it produces what is known as hydroxyl radicals, which attack the DNA and so on. So therefore, if a person is suffering from thalassemia, and mostly in India, in northern India, there are lots of people, actually Muslim community, and this disease came to India from the Greece and those Mediterraneans. Somebody said that Alexander, when they came, he has bought that. So what happened is that there are some people, even in Assam there was a small girl. What happened is that your blood breaks down, and the major problem is that you have the free iron in your body. So that has to be removed. So medicine is there. If you ask me, name of the medicine, Desferel. So that is obtained from natural sources. But you need about 1 lakh rupees of that medicine. every month. And also, in addition, you do blood transfusion. So therefore, it's very expensive, and ordinary people cannot afford. But suppose some of our scientists come out with a different alternative drug, which is very cheap. So then I think we can solve a problem. In Western countries, they don't bother about all these things because money is not a problem. They want a drug. But in India, you need some process through which you can get things cheaper. Not only in the case of drugs, in various other things. So, I mean, that is another thing. There are so many problems of this kind where you find something which is affordable to people. So that kind of research also is very important. Obviously, if you do this kind of research, you may not be able to publish papers. Okay, so therefore I am not saying that you go 24 hours on that, but at least you spend some 15% of your time in thinking about this thing, and I think you will do a good service to society. Similarly, in medical, not only medicine, but also some of the medical practices, if you find some alternatives and all that, so that also is something very great. But right now, if you look at, in general, you can see pollution is one of the major problems. Iron, fluoride, arsenic in drinking water is a problem in Assam. Even in Guwahati, the water is contaminated with fluoride and arsenic. And they are very toxic. And can you find something? One thing I said is already there, but who can pay 30,000 rupees? So can you find something which will not cost 30,000 but may cost 500 rupees? Then you can probably design a filter. Then village people can buy this. And then that will be a great contribution. Okay. Okay, this one isn't Devashish is also there. This is one of the idea of our Honorable Director of IASST. Okay, so his project, and that's why I am here working on that project. Okay, so idea is to find something from waste products so that we can provide this thing in a very cheaper way. The details I don't want to discuss. This is not the place for this. So we have been doing work on that area. Idea is to provide cheap alternatives to which is already well known. That also is a one very important contribution. It's not necessary that you always discover new things. Then if you look at the global level, then climate change is another challenge that you have. From renewable energy sources, there's another challenge that you have. I want to concentrate mostly on our local problems. And I believe there are many. One other thing is pure drinking water. Availability of pure drinking water is another major thing. And if some of us can do something, contribute to this by whatever means, low cost something, filters, then I think people will benefit, and they can. It must be affordable to people, village people in this. So anyway. So this institute is, I think, one of the most famous institute now in Assam, in Guwahati. Everybody talks about IASST because you have done lots of things, lots of good things. But I think people expect more from you than whatever you have done. And one way to reorient your work is what our director is thinking and doing, and that is take up some such problems where you can, solve a local problem in a society. I'm not saying that you leave your whatever you are doing, whatever research you are doing, very good work. Everybody says that. I also know it. But say 80%, 20% or 90%, 10%. So you can probably make an more important contribution. So everybody will appreciate. And you are also doing some of it. I know in herbal products. See, one of the most important thing we have is a hotspot of biodiversity. So you have large number of things, lots of medicinal plants. So everybody talks about medicinal plants, but nobody has come up with some clear-cut solution. So I think you can look at this problem and see why why people talk but cannot produce. So that I think should be looked at, and some of you can really take interest in this. Okay, that's all about it. Thank you very much for listening to me.